Good afternoon, everyone. It is 1 o'clock and we will open the meeting. If I firstly could acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which we meet on here today and the custodians of Townsville, the Walgurugaba of the Bindal, the Walgurugaba of Gurrumbil and Yombanen and the Bindal people, and pay our respects to their culture, their ancestors and their elders past, present and all future generations. Could I ask Reverend Simon Allery, please, if you could lead us off in prayer.
Thanks, Jenny. Thanks, councillors. Ladies and gentlemen, let's pray. Let's talk to God. Heavenly Father, thank you that we can talk to you right now. Thank you that we can come before you with confidence because of Jesus. Father, we want to thank you for Jesus. Thank you that he's a real person of history, a person who was born, who lived, who died and who rose again. Father, thank you that he can restore our relationship with you. Father, thank you for this great news. Father, we want to bring before you our city. Father, there's lots of hopelessness in our community. Young people with baggage and no purpose. Families struggling through domestic violence. People struggling because of the economy. Families struggling because of substance abuse. Families struggling with mental health issues. And people struggling because of the heat, which seems to drive us all a little crazy. Father, we pray that the people of Townsville would realise the sure and certain hope only found in Jesus. Father, we're going to bring before you Mayor Jenny Hill and her councillors. Father, we thank you for the way that they serve our city and the sacrifices involved with that. Father, we pray that you would be with them as they lead our city. Father, please help them to be wise. Please help them to know how to juggle the needs and the resources of our city. Father, please help them to care well for our community and to have a heart for the weak and the vulnerable. Father, in their busy lives, please help them to have time to love and care for their own families. Father, in their busyness, help them to have the strength and energy they need to keep serving you well. Father, we thank you for our council and we pray that you would be with them. We pray these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
Thank you, Simon. You're quite welcome to stay if you like. Yes, you can go if you wish. Thank you for your words of prayer for us. I have no apologies or leave of absence.
I apologise for the late notice, but I received notification last night. I would like to take from Wednesday the 4th, 5th and 6th of March for personal reasons. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Greenie. Is there any other requests for leave? All right, if not, I will put that to the vote. All those in favour? Against? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Could I have someone move the minutes of the meeting, the last council meeting of the 28th of January, please? Thank you. Moved Councillor Saw, seconded Councillor Coombe. Are there any changes to the minutes? No? All right, I will put that to the vote. All those in favour? Against? Carried unanimously. Thank you, councillors. Now, I will ask the Legal Officer, Tony Bly, if you could please read out the disclosure of interest statement.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. There have been changes to the local government legislation as part of Operational Belcara that could affect an individual councillor's involvement in today's meeting. These changes introduce obligations for councillors regarding how they manage personal interests in any council matters that may arise. Councillors must consider if they have a personal interest, that is a material personal interest or a real or perceived conflict of interest, in any item being considered and voted upon at today's session. If a councillor has a material personal interest or real or perceived conflict of interest in a matter today, it should be declared as required under the Local Government Act. If a councillor at a meeting reasonably believes or reasonably suspects that another councillor has a material personal interest or real or perceived conflict of interest in a matter to be discussed at the meeting, and the other councillor has not informed the meeting about that interest, the councillor with the suspicion must advise the chairperson of the meeting as soon as practicable about their belief or suspicion and the facts or circumstances that form the basis of that belief or suspicion. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. With that, with the statement being read out, are there any disclosures of interests? All right. I will remind councillors that if you do become aware during the course of the council meeting, to please declare any disclosures of interest. Correspondence, CEO?
No correspondence.
Thank you. I believe there is a petition. Thank you, Councillor Doyle.
Yeah, Madam Mayor, I wish to present a petition on behalf of residents of Anderson Street Railway Estate in relation to requesting that council reinforce or enforce the bylaws with regards to laneway parking and home-based business activities. There are 16 signatures on the petition, and I'll present that to staff to investigate.
Thank you. If you could. Councillors, you are aware that we've had a number of home-based businesses. It may be that the new council will need to work with the state government to change the definition of a home-based business. That will be a report that will come to council in April. Thank you. All right, are there any deputations? There are none. Notices of motion? There are none. Presentations? There are none. I do not have a mayoral minute. Let us begin by going to the first report. Thank you, councillors. On the recommendation around, my apologies, the report is to note the Ross River Dam Commercial and Recreation Use, the survey overview report. Do we have any staff members who have information on the survey? Thank you, Eva.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I can start the discussion, and if there's any questions, I'll also have staff members that might answer any of the questions councillors might have. This item is regarding Council put out a survey in relation to activating Ross River Dam in terms of potential recreational and commercial uses on the Ross River Dam and its catchment. During the community engagement process, which was undertaken for about a month, between the 10th of October and the 13th of November, Council received some of the order of about 1,700 submissions. Sorry, 1,700 people visited the website in relation to the Have Your Say Townsville platform. 318 people completed the survey that was provided online. During that process, 137 people also viewed the interactive map, which is available online, and 18 people posted or pinned their comments online as well. The report regarding the survey and the assessment of those asking council to note the the findings of the Ross River Dam survey plan, but also mindful that the next stages are a more intensive master planning process to identify what the opportunities are in the Ross River catchment, in immediate catchment, but also beyond that as well.
All right, thank you. Are there any questions from councillors on this matter? None? I might ask, if I could ask the Director of Planning and Community, the next steps now is the development of a master plan for the precinct?
Through the Chair, the next stage is to understand what the vision is for the whole Ross River catchment. That's going to be a broad document in relation to what Council can actually undertake for the whole catchment, but also identifying through an implementation plan and action plan what the quick wins might actually be to start activating the Ross River Dam.
All right, and we'll also take that back out to public consultation.
Correct.
Yes, Councillor
Mayor,
Molokino.
if I may, I'd like to say a few words to support this, if possible.
Yes.
It's good to see we've asked the public for feedback on the survey, because that's what it's all about, going to the public and finding out what they want us to deliver for them. As we said, 1,700 people viewed it, 318 actually completed it, and another 137 having a look at the map and given us some ideas about what they want to see at different locations around there. The overwhelming feedback I've received is supportive of expanded use in the Ross Dam, and to date, the Barra Restocking Group has put about 100,000 barramundi into the dam. A lot of these fish now will be reaching about the 60 to 70 centimetre range. So they're growing quite well in there. It's a great stocked area. It is hoped one day that this dam, should we go ahead and it's all successful, be included in the SIPS program, which is the Stocked Impoundment Permit Scheme. So, and that will then allow recreational fishermen to pay their $50 a year to access it. That money goes back into restocking the dam. So it's a full cycle type thing. It's a great concept and works very well. The benefits of Townsville are immense. As I said, CQU have compiled a report which shows the economic benefit of fishing alone, just fishing without any of the other tourism stuff, of stocked dams around the state. Across Queensland stocked dams, fishermen have spent an average of 272,000 days fishing in the last year, which translates into substantial impacts on regional economies. Expenditure on things like food, accommodation and fuel are generating economic activity, and this translates into over $28 million spent directly into regional areas, with dams like Tinaroo Dam alone generating $7 million just on fishing. Considering Townsville has a boat ownership of 1 boat per 7 people, which is the second highest in the state, I think we can expect great things ahead. So I fully support this proposal and I'd like to thank the staff for their involvement in getting this report to us today. And I look forward to seeing the master plan when ready.
Thank you, Councillor. Yes, it was a commitment we gave that we begin the process. Sadly, the floods put many of our programs, delayed the implementation or the beginning of many of our programs, but we're still working towards completing our commitments. Any other comments?
Yes, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor.
Just wanted to add, this could have been done 4 years ago. As you would recall, we were pushing this last term. And as a council was quite dysfunctional and unsupportive at the time. And now we have a united team that has jointly pushed forward on this policy to make sure that we can move forward with a positive outcome. And after this consultation process, a very detailed one, and what's interesting is it picks up not just the boating and fishing. I just noticed from the top 5,
Sailing?
Sailing, which has been a hot topic here for some time, trying to get some more infrastructure, but even the rowing, stand-up paddleboarding, the swimming, and the last one is sailing. But what's quite interesting is there's been more engagement of those guys that do the bird watching and the astronomy and a few others. So it is an inclusive document and an inclusive report, which is very exciting and holistic, which is one we had a meeting about 5 or 6 years ago, was the astronomy, because of the lack of lighting out there that they could actually see space and the stars a lot better. So it's exciting, and I thank the chair for the report.
Thank you. Yes, councillors. This is the first stage. I think we all also have to understand that any activities on the dam cannot jeopardise our drinking water. So fundamentally, that is the one thing that we have to maintain a very high standard on. But I look forward to the next phase, which is the master plan and the community consultation. That will occur in the next council. So thank you, Ebba. All right, we will note that report. See, we need to vote to note. I don't believe so. Didn't think so. Thank you. That report is noted. We'll now go to item 2, which is the Magnetic Island Trails Draft Vision Plan. And again, I think that falls into the Director of Planning.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This project is a partnership with Queensland Parks and Wildlife Service, and that's worth noting from the outset. Council last considered this item back in 28th of May 2019, where it resolved to actually allow this to go to public notification in terms of the next stage. The public consultation process occurred for about a month between the 8th of July and the 6th of August 2019. During that process, 12 submissions were received, and they've been incorporated in the appendix, which is the submissions review report. and item B, which is the amended vision plan, which incorporates the submissions that were incorporated as part of the public consultation process. Once again, it's the reports provided for council in relation to the submissions review for noting, as well as the vision plan for noting as well.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Director. Any views from the local councillor?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. It's great to see some of these amendments, and also the number of groups that I have been working closely with on Magnetic Island provide their feedback to this second stage. It's very exciting to see, and thank you to the staff involved in that. It's great to see the wayfinding signage as well being included, and a few amendments made around the Picnic Bay Jetty and things like that. I'm very excited to see this to fruition, Madam Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. From what I can gather, the consultation councillor went through a wide number of groups, from tourism to Mirror to MICTA to Mintka and the Walguru traditional owners.
As it always does on Magnetic Island, Madam Mayor, as we know, so it's good to see.
Excellent. Just a query, if I may, I'm just bringing it up on my screen, and that is, you must love the actual trails plan, the 26-page PDF. Will that be released now on the website?
Correct, Madam Mayor.
All right. Okay. So it's interesting, you could walk from Nellie Bay across the back to Horseshoe Bay. Now that link's been there for a while, so I think this plan will mean that people will find these links a lot easier. Okay. All right, if there's no further comment, the recommendation is to note stage 2 of the submission review and note to amend the actual plan prepared in collaboration with Queensland Parks and Wildlife Service. All right. Yes, Steve?
Madam Mayor, if I may, it's not note to amend, it's note the amendment.
Amend. Thank you. Thank you. Note the amended. All right. Thank you. I just want to check. So this has gone through the final stages of engagement.
Correct, Madam Mayor.
So now we'll seek funding, partnership funding with the Queensland Government.
Correct, and that's in train already, Madam Mayor, in relation to one of the trails out there.
Excellent. Thank you. All right, we'll move forward now to the community engagement, the Community Safety Advisory Committee report. I might ask Councillor Cook if he wishes to make a statement on this, because this is the advisory committee you chair.
Yeah, that's correct, Madam Mayor. Thank you. Earlier this month, Townsville City Council hosted the Advisory Committee Forum, and Councillor Doyle will refer to that and add on to that further on. At the forum, we were privileged to hear from one of the Community Safety Advisory Committee members, Dr. Mark David Chong, FRSA, Senior Lecturer in Criminology and Criminal Justice, James Cook University. At this forum, Dr. Chong shared his own insight into the crime prevention in our community and the role that council play, and I'm pleased to share some of his comments. The Townsville City Council as an organisation is not primarily empowered to prevent crime within the community. Such a task is more suited to the police, community corrections, youth justice, the prisons and other similar governmental agencies. That said, Townsville City Council does have a secondary role in this regard through its town planning and public space development and maintenance responsibilities, affected through the application of crime prevention through environmental designs, principles, or also known as CEPTEB. Townsville City Council can also reduce levels of fear of crime through its capacity to inform and communicate important information about crime and community safety issues to the public. Townsville City Council, through the Community Safety Advisory Committee, has extended its secondary role of crime prevention and community safety through key partnerships with these governmental agencies, as well as associated NGOs, via a range of collaborative initiatives, including offender rehabilitative and community regenerative projects that are carried out with youth justice and community corrections through supervision orders and measures, and also the Strand Crime Awareness Project with Crime Stoppers, just to mention a few. They were the words of Dr. Mark David Chong, Barrister at Law, Senior Lecturer in Criminology and Criminal Justice, James Cook University. I'd just like to finish off, Madam Mayor. I did thank the committee members themselves at the last Community Safety Advisory Committee, but I'd like to now take the opportunity to thank all TCC staff for their valuable assistance over the past term of the Community Safety Advisory Committee. Without their support, I don't think we would have reached the goals that we did over this time. So I'd like to thank you all personally. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. The meeting notes are orders noted. We'll move on to the Inclusive Community Advisory Committee minutes of the 4th of December 2019. Councillor Doyle.
Perhaps, Madam Mayor, if we could look at both the Inclusive Communities and the Arts and Cultural Advisory Committee meeting.
All right, so you're asking us to consider Report 4 and 5.
Which are both for noting. And I suppose the comment that I'd like to make at this point in time is more about, as Councillor Cook alluded to, the Advisory Committee Forum. It's the first time, actually, I was going to say it's 12 years in the making, but it's longer than 12 years in the making, that all of the advisory committees to Council have been together in one space to share and collaborate in relation to the work that they do for and on behalf of both Council and their community. So in the room we had Sister Cities Committee, the Learning Communities, ACAC, ICAC, CSAC, which are all our lovely acronyms, the Heritage Committee. I don't think I've forgotten anyone, but it was really enlightening for me, particularly to hear the work of the other committees. You see what comes through Council, but it was an honour to sit and hear the champions of each of those committees present the work that they have done on behalf of their community. So thank you so much to the staff that pulled that together and for, I suppose, honouring the committees for this term. And I would hope that it goes far beyond and is an annual event from this point forward that I will attend as a member of the community.
Thank you, Councillor Doyle. Do you think you could talk about some of the highlights from the Inclusion Committee?
Not without crying. I suppose the highlights for me, there are many, but one in particular will always remain the mats, the beach mats that we've installed or that the Townsville City Council has installed at Strand Park. And that really was a true collaboration with members of the community, particularly the disability sector, for driving that particular project from a community perspective and working so collaboratively with Council. Those mats make a difference not only to people with a disability who are potentially, who are using a wheelchair, but for mums with bubs in strollers, for older people on wheelie walkers, or for anyone with reduced mobility. So it's not just about a person with an identified disability in a wheelchair. So as Kaylee sort of indicated, Kaylee Downey, who represented the ICAC group, the beach mats represent far more than a physical access. They represent the capacity to participate within the community and be considered worthy to be included, and that's what a community should be.
Councillor Doyle, I was thinking about things such as the silver level housing, the adult change room. Every park we build now, we ensure accessibility and inclusiveness without having to require set government legislation. They're just 3 or 4 things that come off.
And I was going to refer to those a little bit later when we look at the diversity and inclusion strategy 2020 to 24, because they've all been included within that strategy, which also aligns with the livability study. So I can segue straight into those two, but we've got grants.
So let us note then, we will note item 4
and 5.
And 5, and we will move on to item 6, which is the Grants and Partnership Recommendation Report. This again, I think, is in your area, Mr. Director. Thank you, Ebba.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Item 6 is regarding the Grants and Partnership Program for grants less than $5,000. These are the grants that were attributed prior to the 15th of January. The two items which were approved under delegation at an officer level are identified in the table 1 within the report. In particular, they refer to Rolling Stone and District Community Association for the Australia Day event in the order of about $1,800 cash. And the second item is in relation to the Coalition on Criminal Assault in the Home for an event in relation to a community of women supporting women in community, and that's the value of about $2,450. The item is just for noting for councillors.
Thank you. In light of some of the things that have happened, a community of women, the Queensland Domestic Violence Resource Centre, I think that funding is very much needed. Can I ask Councillor Ryder, how did the inaugural Dunny Derby go at...
Yes, Madam Mayor, that was probably one of the big success stories of Australia Day, and I think I took out the Dunny Derby, Madam Mayor. But it's these small community events is what makes a livable community. It builds resilience, and it might be a small amount, but to a small community like that, it means a whole lot of...
Yes, I can imagine for the Rolling Stone community in the areas around Balgol Beach, those areas, they would have thoroughly enjoyed that day. I must get an invite if I get re-elected.
Excuse me, Madam Mayor, can Councillor Ryder just actually clarify what is the Dunny Derby?
Councillor, could you please explain how the Dunny Derby worked?
I bought one at auction as well. It's you hop in a little square box and you have 4 people around.
Could I ask you to turn your microphone on, please?
Oh, sorry. It's a little square box that's painted up, and the lions and every group got to paint up their own toilet, and you put someone in a toilet, you have to go a fair way, you have to pick up a toilet brush, a dunny roll, and stay in this little box and run like the wind.
Can I say that's quintessential Australian?
Yes, very much so.
Very much. All right. Thank you for that. This report...
Oh, sorry, can I quickly add, sorry, through the chair, the grant process, the community group gave me some great feedback because this year we used the Smarty grants, and the feedback from the community that it was a lot easier and a lot streamlined. So thank you for the start of the revamp of this grant system.
Thank you, Councillor. Yes, it's taken its time, but I think we're starting to make some significant progress. Thank you for that. Item 6 is for noting. If there's no further comments, we'll move on to item 7, which is we endorse the livable study.
Livability strategy.
To endorse the study. To endorse is to vote. So, councillors, can I have someone move that we endorse the livability strategy of 2020-2024? Thank you. I'll go to Councillor Doyle and I'll take Councillor Walker as second, if I may. All right. Any comments?
I suppose one of the things that I would like to point out in relation to the livability study is the alignment of the deliverables. I've got a little bit of Councillor Cook going on here, where it attributes areas of responsibility within council. So that's really, really important to understand that each area of council has taken on an area of responsibility in relation to the livability strategy, and the alignment between the livability strategy and the diversity and inclusion strategy is not to be underplayed either. So the synergies and connections between those documents is important.
Thank you, Councillor. With that, we might put that to a vote. We have a mover and seconder if no one else wishes to comment. All those in favour? Against? Carried unanimously. Thank you, councillors. We'll move on now to item 8, which is the recommendation to endorse the diversity and inclusion strategy. I'll ask again for a mover and seconder before I ask for a speaker. Thank you, Councillor Doyle, seconded Councillor Greenie. Any comments from you, Councillor Doyle?
This is another one. First of all, I wanted to thank the team for a start, particularly Sally Butler and the team, and I know that started the journey with Donna Jackson as well, and a number of people within the team, and not to be underplayed again is the relationship that exists with the staff of community development, future cities, the whole area. Again, it's how people work together and infrastructure, not to be forgotten there, Danny. Everybody plays a role. And Madam Mayor, where you highlighted some of those areas before, you can see those within Council's role in providing a diverse and inclusive city. So not only have we put in place physical infrastructure such as the adult change facilities, and the state government has just opened the stadium, and obviously there is an adult change facility in there. Mick de Brenny was very happy to show that to the world the other day. But Townsville City Council is not far behind, with the Trebrook Pool also having a adult change facility which will change people's lives. Programs such as Changing Lives and Changing Communities is a whole of community approach. The mobility mapping, again, which outlines for community members who have reduced mobility, and particularly those in a wheelchair, how they can easily access and get around the city, and that will extend beyond just the CBD range. So the actions of the Inclusive Communities Advisory Committee, what we're doing in terms of NAIDOC and our Reconciliation Action Plan, which was nationally recognised. So too was the Cemeteries Program, again, nationally recognised. So the work of the library services, like it's embedded within this council. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Doyle. Are there any other comments? Because this is a very, very good strategy.
It's the best parting gift I get.
Thank you. All right, we have a mover and seconder. I might ask, through the Director of Planning and Community Services, is there any comment that the staff may wish to make on this strategy?
Not from my perspective, Madam Mayor, but our Chief Strategy Officer may want to make some comments, or even Sally.
Over the whole council, how we are all progressing to make sure our community is diverse and inclusive, and that it will have the social and economic benefits that it's got overall in our city. It was a wonderful project to put together over council for everyone to be able to share and celebrate, I think, all the success that we have, that we often don't do that enough, and then really put some pathways forward on what projects that we're going to do over the next month.
Thank you, Sally. All right. I think what I would like to say on this is diversity is central to innovation. And the more diverse and accepting a community is, the more innovative it is, the greater the job prospects. But it's also the fact that we value diversity and inclusion of our community in our city, and the strategy clearly outlines that. So I think, Councillor Doyle, you've left the council in a much better place than where it was 8 years ago. The CEO has pointed out a comment, and I actually have the paper up, but it is. And this is the comment on the front of the paper. Diversity is being invited to the party. Inclusion is being asked to dance. And Sally, I think that's a wonderful phrase to open this strategy with. So thank you all, and thank you all for your collaboration on this project. We have a mover and seconder. I will put it to the vote. All those in favour? Against? Carried unanimously. Thank you, councillors. We'll now move to item 9, which is the final Audit Committee meeting minutes of the 21st of November. Can I have a mover, please? Thank you, Councillor. Oh, no, my apologies. These are just for noting. My apologies. So the recommendation is to note the minutes of the Audit Committee held on the 21st of November 2019 and the 9th of December. Are there any comments on those minutes? If not, then we'll take them as noted. We'll move to item 10. That is the Corporate Performance Report. Now, if I could ask, would the CEO or would the Director of Planning wish to...
Report for 2019-20. So that takes the period October 1st to December 31st. So lots of highlights in that period of time. There are some highlighted on the CEO message. So delivering in that period was our 100% take-up of the Water Smart package. We also opened the new sensory playground in Applan's Weir. We increased our CCT footage in partnership with QPS around the city. The community celebrated all the Christmas activities, of which many were involved. We also endorsed the first Indigenous supplier panel with 59 Indigenous businesses. We also upgraded to a number of our intersections and roads. The Civic Theatre had its official opening in that period, and we participated and became world record holders with our world record of high vis in the one place as well, with 2,499 participants. So the Q2 report does present lots of highlights. That's a few of them, and it's before you today just for noting. Thank you.
Thank you, Stacey. Yes, the report is before us, including the Mount Louisa Open Space Master Plan, the Halloween theme Townsville Eats. I believe that was a spectacularly wonderful event. Our work in mentally healthy cities, I think, should be highlighted. And the work we do in terms of our libraries, things like the summer reading club for our children. It doesn't matter how rich you are, the libraries are there for everyone. So every child has the opportunity to be a part of these sort of programs. So, congratulations, CE. Do you wish to make any comment?
Just that it pleases me. Sorry, Madam Mayor, I forgot the microphone. No, just that it's pleasing to see that it's the fourth such corporate report that shows no items being overdue. And I think that's important. And can I raise the point in relation to CCTV, Madam Mayor? I hope I have the figure right, and the Director of Infrastructure and Operations, I'm sure, will correct me if I'm wrong. But now we've reached the point where we have well over 300 CCTV cameras in strategic locations, and we continue to work with the police service. And I commend the Safety Committee and the work that they've done, but it is another of their secondary roles that are vital from an organisational point of view. And it's a role that we can play to support the safety within the community, in particular in a troubled time. Thanks, Madam Mayor.
Thank you very much, CE. All right, if I can ask Councillor Coombe, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd also like to point out that this performance was under duress in that this organisation was undertaking some very heavy lifting in the recovery space after the floods last year. You can actually take accolades for delivering on this and doing that quantum of work at the same time. It is amazing. I don't know that it's ever been done like this before by this organisation. And the other thing that I would like to say about this report is that outside of the chamber, in certain parts of the community, there are accusations often that we are not as transparent as we need to be. I think if that's the case, people aren't looking. They're not looking in the right areas, and this report actually shows the quantum of work that has taken place within this organisation for this community over that period of time, and I would recommend it to the community to look at it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Coombe. I think that's quite right. Our website does have all the reports. It's just a matter of taking the time to read them.
Yep.
Any other comments? All right. Can I have someone move that we receive this report? Thank you, Councillor Coombe. Do I have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Raybine. Being no other comments, I will put it to the vote. All those in favour? Against? Carried unanimously. Thank you. I'll now move on to item 11, which is the Financial Services Budget Variance Report. So I will ask, if I could ask the Director of Corporate Services, please, Stacey, if you would like to comment on this.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So through the Chair, the BVR, the Budget Variance Report, is presented to you for noting today. Noting this is for January 2020, and it does just point out in there our operating and capital revenue and expenses. So both on, largely on revenue is on budget. Expenses, both for capital and operating, are largely due to timing differences with projects being delivered and capitalisation of those projects. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. All right. Any comments from?
Not from me, Madam Mayor, thank you.
Yeah, it's fairly straightforward. Yes, Councillor.
Sorry. Our debt when we came into
That's in the
council.
next item from the Treasury Report.
Thank you.
It's all right.
There it is.
So the Southern Suburbs Rising Main will be completed by September of this year. Everything around the stadium at that point was on time. So we look to deliver hopefully before the Broncos game. All right, thank you, councillors. That one is for noting. If I could now ask you to move to item 12, which is the Treasury Report. No, I have it as 12. Is it 13?
No, you're right, sorry.
Item 12. Item 12. If we can move now to item 12, the Treasury Report. Any comments from councillors? And that's the one with the debt. That's the one with the debt on it.
I just want to make sure that was on. I'm just conscious that I think we were around 400 million at the start of this term.
Yes.
And we're now sitting at 363 million. So that's close to a $40 million payback on our debt. So that's a great outcome. We keep that trend going. That's great.
Councillor, it is a very good outcome, thank you. And I would like, I'll invite Councillor Coombe if she wishes to make any comment on the report. It is quite a good report.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yes, it is a good report, and certainly I think we can congratulate the staff for bringing us in with this report in January. I note that we haven't drawn down any extra debt, which is of course saving us money in the meantime, so every bit that we don't borrow we're saving. I would like to say from a debt perspective, we're going in the right direction. I think Councillor Molokino was hinting towards the trend that we've got going there, and I think that that's an important piece of work that has been done, but has only been able to be done because of the heavy lifting that was done at the early part of our term, and it was something that we had to take on. It's not necessarily an easy thing to do, but it has been done and it's paid dividends already for this city and will continue to do so. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Can I note that the debt to community assets were well below the 10% target that's set by Queensland Treasury. We're at 7.19%. So if you relate it to a $500,000 loan on a house, we owe $40,000. So we are in a very sound position, which is why Queensland Treasury keep asking us to borrow more money. Anyway, so that report is for noting, councillors. Item 13 now is the sale of council land at Duckworth Street. There is a request a recommendation from the officers that we resolve that the exception in section 2361C part 4 of the local government regulation would apply to this sale.
They wish to purchase a small parcel of council land next to their building. Council officers have had a look and they have no objection to selling the parcel of land. We would use one of our values to determine the sale price. And we've also done public consultation around the other buildings and facilities around there, and there's no objections to them either. So, recommendation is to proceed and discuss with the owners.
All right, thank you. Councillors, are there any questions on this matter? It's fairly straightforward. All right, can I have someone move? Thank you, Councillor Montalcino. Seconded, Councillor Greenie. That we accept the officer's recommendation. If there's no further comment, we'll put it to the vote. All those in favour? Against? Carried unanimously. Thank you. We'll move on to item 14, which is the Townsville Water and Waste inspection plan, to determine inflows into our sewer system. Again, I think, Danny, you'll be responsible for this.
Yes, Madam Mayor. Council's approved an inspection program of all sewers and private house drains. We come to council when we do new suburbs, so as part of this program, between April, we want to do a 3-month program for Annandale, Cluden, Douglas, Adalia and Anoomba. It just helps us identify any illegal connections, and certainly then we can prosecute the people. So it's just a report we've been doing since probably 2008, letting council know what areas will be affected.
My apologies, my computer's logged out. I'm just trying to log back in. Are there any questions of Danny on this matter? Yes, thank you, Councillor Walker.
Not necessarily a question, Madam Mayor, it's just that it's good timing in relation to just noting Cluden, Adalia and Anoomba and Annandale are the areas that were part of the monsoon event, and having this testing is very, very important because it will detect other things as well along the way, which is gives some more confidence to the community as we rebuild and move forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. In fact, I would also hope that the Southern Suburbs Main will assist many of the other issues that are in these areas.
Yeah, unfortunately, it may be completed by then.
No, the Southern Suburbs will be completed by September.
Yeah.
All right. There's a the officer's recommendation is we improve this inspection program. Can I have a mover, please? Thank you, Councillor Walker. Can I have a seconder? Councillor Molokino. If there is no other comment or discussion, I will put that to the vote. All those in favour? Against? Carried unanimously. Thank you, councillors. We'll now move on to item 15, which is the Townsville Water and Waste Customer and Business Reporting for the second quarter of the year. Again, I might ask the Director of Infrastructure, Danny Lynch, if he has any comments to make.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. I might pass this to the General Manager of Townsville Water and Waste, who's here, that has written the report.
Thank you. Thank you, Scott, if you could come forward.
Thank you. So just in our performance report, just like to note there has been some improvements on our customer service. There are, and financially that we come in on our budget and delivering the services that we've agreed to set ourselves for after KPIs. There are some still areas that we're working on, but we have noticed some continual improvement on areas on safety and customer service over the last 12 months.
Thank you, Scott. Are there any questions for Scott? All right. Are there, to the Chair, do you wish to make any comment on the report card?
No, Madam Mayor. I've any issues I've raised it on my regular meetings with Scotty Moorhead. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. If that's the case, this report is just for noting. So we've noted the report. Ladies and gentlemen, we have one confidential item, and then we will need to deal with that, and then we will move into general business. Could I have someone move that we move into closed council? Thank you, Councillor Coombs. Seconded, Councillor Walker. All those in favour? Against? Carried unanimously. So this item affects budgets. Confidential, and that the document remain confidential unless council decides otherwise by resolution, and that we note that should it be successful in securing the events, the associated costs would be included as part of the 2020-2021 Major Events Partnership budget. So can I have someone move those recommendations? Thank you, Councillor Walker. Seconded, Councillor Greenie. All those in favour? Against? Carried unanimously. Thank you, councillors. I now move into general business, and I would like to invite Councillor Coombe, Doyle and Jacob, please, if they wish to say, to give a report on their term at council. So who would like to go first? Thank you, Councillor Jacob.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. It's been an honour to serve my community and the wider community of Townsville for 4 years. And I would especially like to thank the TTC staff for their insight and their management abilities. My main reason for not nominating again, I have outlined in a letter to the Townsville Bulletin some months ago. And I reiterate, the new Balcarra legislation has, in my view, thrown the baby out with the bathwater in reference to an individual councillor who wishes to stand alone. But I do believe as a council we have failed this community on transparency and accountability for all of our constituents. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Could I now ask, does Councillor Coombe?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. It's been an utter privilege to serve the people of Townsville. 4 generations of my family have lived, worked and carried on business in this city since the late 1800s. I'm humbled to have carried on the legacy of the Henspeeters as a family who have literally and figuratively built Townsville. Personally, politics and public affairs have always been a passion, and the chance to serve our community in this capacity is both unique and irreplaceable, and for that I would like to thank you personally, Madam Mayor. Right up front, I would like to acknowledge my tribe, my family, friends and network of amazable people who have walked this path with me. I would also like to acknowledge the people around this table, those that work 24/7 for the future of this city. Upon reflection, I'm incredibly proud of what we have achieved over the last 4 years, with a major reform agenda and our transformation program delivering over $40 million in savings for the community. These reforms and savings will continue to pay future dividends. They have already enabled us to achieve record spend in infrastructure projects and a demonstrable culture in transparency and engagement with the community. We've also delivered fully funded water security for Townsville. In 2020, TCC is a more contemporary and agile organisation, and as the Chair of Governance and Finance Committee, I'm particularly proud of these savings and reforms and that Council is now delivering better value for money for ratepayers. Because of these hard yards, Townsville is now a better place to take advantage of future economic opportunities, and Council is laser focused on delivering those outcomes for the city. In the wake of the 2019 monsoons of the Chair of Economic Recovery Task Force, it was a privilege to work with the state and federal government agencies and community members. Through this task force, we secured over $10 million in funding for small business recovery, and I look forward to seeing that being delivered over the next 2 years. Closer to home in Division 6, with funding from State Government Works for Queensland program, we delivered lighting and CCTV for the Riverway walking loop and suburban signs for Douglas and Condon. We also worked on larger scale projects such as Riverway Splash Park and Murray Sporting Complex Master Plan, which will add value to all who live in Division 6 and to the city as a whole. Thank you to the residents who have worked with me to achieve changes in their streets and suburbs, and for understanding that there is always a long wish list that is only limited by time and resources. Townsville and City Council has a high calibre of professional leadership and staff, and I would like to acknowledge every single one of them. In particular, our previous CEO, Adele Young, current CEO, Mike Kyoto, Ebba Butron, Danny Lynch, and my director, Stacey Coburn. I would also like to single out Brett Brogan, Stacey Gibson and David Lynch, who have had the opportunity to work closely with through the recovery, and Tony Bly and Graham Finlayson for all the excellent advice they have given me. You are all talented individuals, an amazing team doing great things for our city. I've been equally inspired by the people of the city working outside of the walls of council, those in the arts sector like Kyle and Amber Page, Terry Braben, Jonathan McBurney, people such as Steve Motti, Michelle Morton, Peter Wheeler, Faye Barker and Debbie Judas, those in hospitality and events, Jamie Fitzpatrick, Matt Merrin, Michael Jones, and those leading community-based and sporting organisations, Murray Claude Brown, John Caligari, Sam Pascoe, Peter Fry, Mark Naylor and Daniel White. They've all contributed in many ways outside the chamber of Townsville City Council, which I will also aim to do in the future. With only 3% of the total taxation revenue of this country, local government are being asked to do a lot of heavy lifting well beyond roads, rates and rubbish. I have total respect for anyone who puts their name on a piece of paper at any level of government to serve their community. However, I have great faith in the people around this table to continue to deliver great outcomes for this city and who hopefully will continue to occupy these seats past April. There are a number of things I've advocated for which I would like to see continue or started. That every decision council takes is with the aim to grow, retain and attract smart people to this city. Secondly, I advocate for more focus being placed on our younger demographic. We invest very well in our older residents, our children and our families. We need more for our 15 to 25s. Now that we have a stadium, we have a vehicle to attract world-class, unique content, unique being the operative word. And I will also continue to advocate that we need to change the name of our region for tourism marketing to Magnetic Coast. When travellers are deciding where to spend their dollar, we are literally in competition for that dollar with the Gold Coast, Sunshine Coast, Fraser Coast, Whitsunday Coast, you get the idea. Within 1 hour of our city, we have every Australian experience one could desire. Reef, rainforest, the outback and tropical islands. Taking in Magnetic, Palm, Hinchinbrook and Orpheus Islands, Charters Towers, Hinchinbrook and the Burdekin, the name Magnetic Coast captures the essence of our beautiful natural wonders, but also hints at what an amazing place this area is to live, work and play. What better advertisement than to have your brand say you will not be able to resist the attraction of the Magnetic Coast. For the city that has so much going for it, I still see Townsville as a gangly teenager. Like teenagers do, we can often get in our own way sometimes. We can get down on ourselves, wondering when we will grow up. Being hypercritical of ourselves, looking everywhere for approval and trying to be like the others. When we recognise and embrace our unique beauty and gifts, we will mature into the city we were always meant to be. Speaking of teenagers, one of the reasons I took this challenge was because of the support and encouragement of my own campaign car, and I will be paying for the therapy for that for sure. They are now both finished high school and searching for their own creative and meaningful ways to do good work and compare yourself to anyone else. You are way cooler than you think. Creative and clever, you are easy to be around and you are beautiful inside and out. You have so much potential. I believe in you. Finding those things that are amazing about you, the things that set you apart, and double down on those things. Forget about everything else. Don't listen to those that talk smack about you, even the voices inside your own head. Trust yourself. Adulting is hard work, but it's much more satisfying than being a teenager. Nobody learned anything from winning all the time. Use your losses to do better and be better. Keep working hard, but make sure you find the time to celebrate your wins and enjoy yourself. Love yourself, be authentically you, there is nothing else. I hope that I have done you proud and have played my part in contributing to your future success. Even though our relationship is going to change, I love you and that one thing will never change. Peace out.
Thank you, Councillor Coombe. You've probably taken all the good things I was going to say, but that's fine. I now call upon Councillor Doyle, if you would like to...
You've made me cry. I can't start. Oh, whew. Can't even start. Yeah, that's it. All I've got. Peace out.
Take a deep breath.
It is with a tinge of sadness that I address the chamber today for the last time as Councillor Colleen Doyle. So get it in now while you can, Mike. Today, with the presentation of the Diversity and Inclusion Strategy 2020 to 24, I leave knowing that Townsville City Council is well and truly back on track in the area that led me to nominate for council in 2012. In 2008, I was the Manager of Community Services and Community Development for the Townsville City Council, and I was very proud of the work that we did. However, I left an organisation I could no longer watch or participate in the dismantling of services which were directed at and delivering to services for the most vulnerable and marginalised within our community. Nor could I watch the decline in focus failed this community. This sort of work is vital to the social fabric of our community in creating livable and healthy cities and communities. I wish to thank from the bottom of my heart my friends and my colleagues here in this room, my fellow councillors. You've all supported me in this journey and I suppose in essence to a return to the future. I know I've annoyed the crap out of you on occasions with it, but you've listened to me and you've owned it and you've helped to drive this return to focus. It's been an honour to represent my peeps in Division 9. So anyone who knows me knows that I grew up in Hermit Park and I will always consider myself a Hermit Parkie. I've loved being your councillor and playing my role as custodian for the area for the last 8 years. I want to acknowledge all the work of the staff, all the staff that I've ever worked with. I want to thank you for all that you have done, all that you do, and all that you will continue to do. A special mention to my team in community development, libraries, galleries, arts and theatre. You've always supported me, you've always shone, and you've always shown your absolute dedication to this city. So I thank you. And there have been occasions when, unfortunately, Judith Jensen's not still in the room, but she literally did have my back. I want to thank especially to my coordinator and partner, Mark Dubanese, in Human and Social Recovery. Thank you for standing next to me and holding on to me on occasions when I wanted to fold. Special thanks to Ebba, Stacey and Danny, the executive team who, again, I think put up with me on a number of occasions, but share, and that's the important thing, they actually share the vision for this community. And to Mr Tony Bly, I've worked with you as a colleague, so as a staff member, but also as a councillor, and I thank you. I thank you for your absolute honesty on many occasions with me. CEO, what can I say? I've watched you defend, support and protect the staff of this organisation. And I can honestly say that you have been the best CEO that I have ever had the privilege of working with. I thank you for always having the staff's back, because I know how important that is. Councillor Walker, on backs, thank you for having mine, particularly in term 1. As a newbie councillor, you actually protected me on more than one occasion, so thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor Jenny Hill, what can I say? It's been a bit of a trip. And I can remember clearly when you came to me in 2009 and asked me if I'd be part of the team that you're assembling. It's been an honour to work alongside you. We have fought, and I've screamed at you on more than one occasion, but we have always got together to a point of understanding, so thank you. You are what this city needs, so stay strong and lead Townsville to the greatness that it deserves to be at again. But always remember, and I'm quoting Aristotle here, that the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. I am proud of my association with Townsville City Council. It's a great city, so thank you for having me.
I will ask if there's any other general business from any councillor before I make some closing statements. All right. I would like to thank Councillor Jacob, Councillor Doyle and Councillor Coombe for your service to our community. It came at a time when, and Councillor Doyle and Councillor Walker will remember, when we really had a council that was dysfunctional, that wasn't united, that didn't share a vision and did not really have the city's best interests at heart. And I remember fighting to try and keep something as simple as the Home Assist program for our pensioners. That was a program that was lost as a result of not having a council that was actually caring about its community. We've come a long way from that point. We've come to a point where we've been, in this term, reform to recovery. We've made commitments and we've delivered. And I know for some of you, we lost some of you in the journey on the way, but understand this. This organisation has changed from when we were 4 years ago. It is far more transparent. It is an organisation that is now prepared to consult and consult widely. It is not fixed in its views, but it is fixed in its vision for this community. I want to thank Councillor Coombe, particularly our journey on defence. And when I think now of what we have in terms of a defence strategy for the attraction of industry, it is the first time this council has ever participated in a forum like that. And I truly believe that policy alone will set the foundations for employment in this community if we can get everything we want, and I think we can, for the next 50 years. I want to thank all of you in coming on the journey around new technology and new industries, the concept of a smart city. It's more than just about connecting our community to the gig world. It really is about developing the real jobs in the future. In 2016, one of our biggest employers shut its doors months, literally weeks before the council election. And we've struggled with that over the last 4 years. And our community has struggled in terms of employment, in terms of mental health. And as a council, we are taking that fight up to bring those jobs into our community. And we've done all of that in keeping our budgets balanced, in ensuring that we still delivered services without impacting on our ratepayers. And it's been a tough call. But also in those 4 years, we kept our commitments to the arts community. And in fact, I had the pleasure at the AFCM to remind people that the concert hall is now part of the city deals. So we're that one step closer. I want to acknowledge all the staff, particularly those staff who have come on board since the reform of this organisation. None of our commitments meant anything unless we implemented them into our corporate plan and into our operational plan, and we did do that, so that we can ensure that when we made our commitments, we actually delivered them, not like the previous term of council. I want to thank all of you in the room for being united in the overall vision for this city, because we saw what happened with the infighting in the previous term. And I want to acknowledge, and I thank you to all of you for acknowledging Adele Young and the work she did in the reforming of this organisation, but also of Mike, of Stacey, of Ebba, of Danny, and even Brett in his area in future cities. A new concept for any council, and can I say it's one that I am constantly asked about by other mayors. So I suspect in the new world order, we will see future cities in other local governments. But the first council to ever do it was Townsville. Councillor Jacob, you're right. The changes to the local government legislation do make it harder for any of us to nominate and sit around this table. It's not legislation that I think was warranted, but it's the rules of the game that now we all have to play with, and all of us, both councillors and staff. It's a tricky dynamic, and I believe more legislation will roll out in the next term. So for those people who are looking to stand for council, be mindful of what that could mean. I want to thank the 3 departing councillors, as I said, for your service. I truly want to thank Mike. Thank you. Now this is hard for me. And thank all of you, my fellow councillors. We've been in the ditch a few times together. You've had my back, I've had yours. This is the last council meeting of this term. Good luck on your endeavours, all of you, whether it's to seek re-election or to seek new pastures. And all I can say is, in the next 5 weeks, the citizens of this community will decide whether or not we have done a good job and whether or not we deserve re-election. And I'm very happy to stand on the record of this council. Thank you. I'll now close this meeting at 2:30. Thank you very much for your attendance.